guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Getting closer to the end of the year. As a result, time is getting short and my vinyl recent finds are getting longer and longer. I just haven't had the time to put together some videos and edit them and film the needle drops and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to go through basically everything I haven't shown throughout the year that I haven't gotten around to showing or felt that I've had time to listen to enough to be able to talk about it or have some insight in it. Not because I haven't liked them, I just haven't got around to them, or I haven't felt like showing them or talking about them, or maybe they don't fit within the context of the videos. But there's a whole stack of stuff ranging from stuff I picked up just yesterday all the way back till June. So this is a bit of a bonus video, I suppose, and that way I can file some of them back into the collection. But this is a record I picked up yesterday, one I've known about for a long time, but I've been kind of hesitant, having not heard it. Listened to it for the first time last night and it blew me away. It's, the easiest and simplest way to describe it is it's an American krautrock record from 1974. The album's called Moolah and the album's called Woe Ye Demon Possessed. This is fantastic. It's a mixture of krautrock, ambient, experimental, very, very psychedelic and very, very out there. Yeah, really fantastic. Love that. I picked up an original copy of the First Love record. Super happy to find that. A band I really enjoy. I actually filmed a video last week where I ran through a lot of these quite quickly, but I was behind the camera and that got accidentally deleted. So that's also a reason why I'm doing this video, because I can't be bothered doing that whole thing again. You guys know how it goes who make videos. Got a later 80s reissue of Da Capo. I went out to a guy's house who was selling his private collection and picked up quite a few stuff from this pile. This was part of that, so I'm really happy to get that. Yeah, fantastic. One that I've been looking for years. I found it in Melbourne all the way back in June. I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight, absolutely classic record. Garbage and Flowers, Deep Niche. This is a really good New Zealand record. Lo-fi, indie, slightly experimental. Really underrated band. The album's called The Deep Niche, and it's a reissue of something that came out back in 1992 that didn't come out. I think it only came out on cassette the first time around. So yeah, really fantastic. Good if you sort of like, lo-fi, indie, female vocals. She's not a particularly great singer, but it has a lot of charm to it. The Garbage and the Flowers. This should be in its own video, almost a bit of a holy grail for me. I never thought I'd find a original pressing of this, but I did for a very reasonable price. Obviously, you should all know this record. This is the Stooges' first record from 1970. Yeah, original first pressing. It's in fantastic shape. The cover's a bit beat. Well, it's actually pretty good. But yeah, there's a couple of like crackles here and there between the music. But that's about it. The door is opening and closing by itself upstairs because it's very windy again. I wonder if I should go fix that. No, we'll just run with it. Sounds like there's a ghost up there. Okay, next one is the reissue of Emperor Tomato Ketchup by Stereolab. This is a 3 LP, fancy, super thick, sleeved business. Absolutely fantastic record. Basically, I was going to say one of the only 2 Stereolabs you really need if you had to condense it down. This one and Dots and Loops. I haven't heard every single record. There's lots I haven't heard, but yeah, I don't know. The 2 that really stuck out for me is this one and Dots and Loops. So yeah, really worth checking out. Some really fantastic tracks on here. Emperor Tomato Ketchup. They've done a fantastic job on this reissue. This was a gift from a friend, Robert Ashley, Private Parts. I had actually not heard of this before, but it got reissued this year. I don't have anything like this in my collection. It's basically ambient music, but with spoken word poetry, or it's not poetry, it doesn't rhyme, but just some really strange, surreal wording going on. It's almost like a new age thing, but Yeah, it's really fascinating. I'm really enjoy this. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It came out on Lovely Music, and they've reissued a couple of other things on the same label, which I'm going to look to pick up. Really cool. Now, this one is an interesting one. I've been wanting this for a long time. Well, been wanting this for about a year and a half. It's not a long time. Mainly because, I wonder if I bring the camera a bit closer here so you can see. The first track is from the Antipodean Anomalies compilation that I've showed earlier in the year, and the track blew me away, so I wanted to find the album. This is by Nahiwi Arpuni, Tihono Ketekanga, The Link with the Homeland. God, that's a terrible pronunciation. Unfortunately, the rest of the album isn't as fantastic as the first track, which is a very spiritual piece spoken in Te Reo Maori. And yeah, I would say the rest of it is sort of a little bit cheesy 80s New Zealand reggae. There's a couple of nice pieces on it, but overall it sounds nowhere near as cool as this artwork and this name would suggest. There we go. Next one is a reissue of Townes Van Zant's not first record. Is it his first record? No, it's not. But it's the self-titled, just called Townes Van Zant. Absolutely fantastic. Has For the Sake of Song on it and Waiting Around to Die, which is really fantastic. I also really like I'll Be Here in the Morning, which is on side 2. Really great country singer-songwriter type stuff. I've been on a massive reggae binge the past couple of weeks. Picked up this here, Rockers of the Land of Reggae by Emoja. This is really good reggae record. You have to give it some time, and when you get into it, there's some really interesting stuff going on. I was really blown away when I heard this. I was really happy to get that. This was a VC favourite from a few years ago when it got reissued. Pekka Erkensen, Buddhas of Golden Light. This came out in 1984, and it's like a fucking weird electronic record. A mixture of free jazz and electronics. Yeah, really ahead of its time. Yeah, I think this is an amazing record. Absolutely worth checking out. Buddhas of Golden Light. Really happy to have that. Finally picked up this, something that everybody should have, or at least hear. This is Nation Time by Joe McPhee. I'll read you the little hype sticker on here, see if that will sell you on it. But it's basically James Brown groove filtered through Archie Shepp, a pivotal moment in the free jazz canon. I can't top that. Reissues are quite easy to get still, and the originals are impossible to get hold of, so do yourself a favour and grab this record. I highly recommend it. The track Nation Time is what you want to hear. I went down a bit of a mini hardcore rabbit hole for a few weeks there. I picked up this EP by Grey Matter. I want to get the other one to match, but this is really fantastic. Something I can really get behind this. Amazing riffs. The track Take It Back, obviously the big hit. Yeah, fantastic. This is an original pressing on Discord Records. Super cool. Picked this one again all the way back out in June or July. This is the Pure Pleasure reissue of Harold McKinney. This one, I'm not sold on it 100%. There's some great stuff in it. There's some average stuff in it. I don't know if it holds together altogether. I'm glad I didn't spend up and get an original. It's a keeper. There's some what's that track? There's a really weird track on here somewhere that's really interesting called In the Moog, which is really weird. Originally on Tribe Records. It's good, but it's not a mind blower for me. There you go. One of the 6 Volts records I was missing from the Braille label. This album was called Stretch. Again, this one is nowhere near as strong as the earlier stuff. They sort of go into a bit sort of entertaining showbiz sort of swing moments in here. Nowhere near as experimental and playful and out there as the earlier stuff. But since I am collecting the label, which I hate that term, I'm going to keep it against my better judgment. Everyone knows this record. Do I need to say much more about it? This is obviously by Wire. This one is really growing on me lately. I'm still missing an early pressing of Pink Flag, but yeah, really happy to pick this up. This is a New Zealand pressing in really good shape. Okay, now this one's a really interesting release. It's by a label that I'm really enjoying that no one is talking about in the VC. The label is called We Jazz, out of Finland. This is an album called Coma Saxo, and it's not too far away from the stuff that's going on in the UK jazz scene. Really good. Bit funky, a bit electronic. It sounds. There's a lot going on, a lot changing, and they can really play. And it's a really interesting modern jazz record. The label's quite interesting, the stuff they're doing. It's very hard to describe. Yeah, I can hear the music in my head right now, but definitely worth checking out. Yeah, just check out the label. But the album's called Coma Saxo. Finally decided I should get this because I knew it was going to disappear pretty soon. One of the best sounding records in the collection, and it's a reissue. Duskfire by Don Rendell in Car 5 Tet. This is one that I knew about for years before any of his reissues came out, because a friend of mine here, who sadly passed away, said, you know, this is the one to get if you're looking at UK jazz. Just listen to the track Duskfire and you'll be sold. And I remember listening to it on YouTube and, you know, really being blown away by it. So happy to finally get the reissue. And they put a really nice flip back on it, which is cool. This is done on, it wasn't Soul Jazz, it was the other guys. What are they called? Jazzman. I always get them confused. Wonderful stuff. This was one that really surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I found very cheap copy, and my friend said, you're not going to see that again for that price. I really like it, you should check it out. And he's normally pretty much spot on. And I never really went there with the replacements before this. But yeah, this one really, I was really into it. There's some really wonderful tracks. Some tracks sound like Wilco in here to me. But the highlights for me are Alex Chilton, Nightclub Jitters, which reminds me of Wilco, and Can't Hardly Wait. Really fantastic. Signed by somebody, but I don't think it's anyone of note. Can you imagine that was an Alex Chilton signature? Definitely not. Probably not. That would be cool though. Obviously these guys were a very big fan of Alex Chilton. You can hear a lot of the influence, and yeah, I don't know. Check it out. I was really surprised to enjoy this. The Wicker Man soundtrack. Been wanting this for a long time. Really amazing. I heard this at Anthony's house many years before I knew anything about UK folk and acid folk and psychedelic folk, and before I knew about the pentangle and comas and stuff like that. And this knocked my socks off back then, and it still holds up. Some really, really weird, interesting stuff going on. Really creepy, haunting lyrics. Yeah. I saw the original movie many years ago, and I'm quite keen to revisit it. But yeah, really happy for The Wicker Man. This is the music on vinyl reissue. There we go, Christopher Lee. The music to The Wicker Man is quite extraordinary. It is probably the best music I've ever heard in a film. Joe Higgs' Life of Contradiction, another Pressure Sounds release. Pressure Sounds being a mark of distinction. This is number 58. This one took me a while to get around to. It's very low key, very relaxed. It's definitely a roots album. This album was a big influence, and I think he worked with Bob Marley and the Wailers, or sorry, specifically the Wailers. I can definitely hear that. It's just a really nice, chill album. It goes quite easy on. There's not much in terms of effects and dub effects or anything like that. It's just a really nice, I think I would call it roots reggae. Fantastic. This annoys the hell out of me though. Again, the J, how the font is all thick and that's really thin. This is a weird one. Wayne Roland Brown. This is probably the closest thing to a New Zealand acid folk record. Completely weirder outside record. This guy showed up to the recording studio and forgot to invite his band members, so he recorded the whole thing itself. It's on basically a obscure New Zealand label called is it Strange? I'm not going to pull it out. Strange Records, signed by Wayne himself. Yeah, they do some really strange covers of All Along the Watchtower. But yeah, this one is worth a fair bit of coin because it's ridiculously rare and it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's worth the money. It's definitely not worth paying the big bucks for it, but yeah, super interesting stuff. I like it. It's quirky. He definitely has a big character, and it's definitely his record, and he plays everything on it. So it's very quirky. I mean, it's a private press sort of thing. So yeah, it's good. I recommend it. But don't go spending money for it. You'll never find it overseas. It's one of those things where if you live in New Zealand, you've probably got more chance. But that's that one. Love for Sale. I used to have a copy of this a long time ago, but it was really, really noisy and it was overpowering, so I moved it along, finally found another copy. I really like this record a lot. I'm even going to say behind Forever Changes, this is my number 2. At this point, it was basically an entirely new band, apart from, what's his face, Arthur Lee. And they sort of go with a heavier guitar sound and a real rock focus to it. Some really cool psychedelic rock stuff going on in here. Yeah, really, really great. Love for Sale. Alright, the new Fire Orchestra record. Wow, this is really good. For me, this is a return to form. Unfortunately, the pressing is really noisy, and apparently it's very hit or miss with what you're going to get. But yeah, Fire Orchestra, Arrival, really, really cool. They sort of have this dual vocal thing going on, and the vocals really intertwine over the way the band plays together. They do a really cool cover of a Robbie Basho song. Yeah, I really like this. It sounds fantastic when it kicks into. The artwork direction obviously is almost a hint or a callback to the artwork from Enter and Exit, 2 of their previous records, and it does sort of fit in with that. You know, I mean, because I did an album with a green cover a couple of years ago, which was a bit more of a different direction, which I don't really get into, but this is sort of more back into the bigger sound, bigger band thing going on. Anyway, really good. This record, man. If I said, you know, if you got to own any reggae record, this is the one you should get, definitely. I feel like I may have talked about this previously, or it was in the video that never went up. Keith Hudson, Flesh of My Skin, Blood of My Blood. I would love to get an original of this. If anyone out there happens to have an original that they would like to move on or work out a trade or something, please let me know. This record absolutely blew my mind. I knew before I picked it up that it was meant to be very good, and the name appealed to me, but when I dropped it on, I was like, this is amazing. This is right up there for me. This is obviously a later reissue. I'm very tempted to see if I can figure out how to get an original pressing that's clean or in decent shape, or some sort of early unknown Jamaican pressing. Yeah, fantastic record. Mixes reggae, dub, and sort of, I guess, I hear bits of 70s soul and funk sounds, and yeah, distorted wah-wah guitars, and yeah, amazing record. I'm going to play this next, I think, once I finish making this video. God, another one that's hard to describe. These Trails. This is a reissue on Drag City of a private press record. Discogs describes it as a Hawaiian psychedelic folk record, which is basically what it is. It's so hard to describe what this is. I don't know anything quite like it, really, to be honest. It's basically an Hawaiian psychedelic folk record. Very dreamy, very spacey, very out there. Some really surreal vocals. Really, really good. Yeah, I can definitely recommend it. I think that this reissue is getting quite hard to find now as well, so I picked this up a long time ago, you know, coming up to 4 or 5 months ago now. Same with this one, Dollar Brand. Fantastic record. This features all the dudes. Johnny Diani. John Betcher's on here. Carlos Ward, Don Cherry, Hamiet Blueiett, Roy Brooks. Yeah, really good if you can pick this one up. It's 2 side long pieces. It's a really great spiritual jazz record, one of my favourite Dollar Brands. So happy to get that. I took a plunge on Bob Dylan. I have about 4 of his records, and it seems like every couple of years I decide to discover and spend some time with a new one as I go along, and I really sort of take my time and get into them. Blonde on Blonde was one that I knew It's regarded as a masterpiece and one of his best. And in terms of being historically important, it was the first double album, I think, of all time, sort of thing, or at least the first popular musical rock music double album. And this is really fantastic. I knew tracks from it, and I especially knew the track Fourth Time Around, but I knew a different version because I remember having the CD of the Vanilla Sky soundtrack when I was younger, and the version on that I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was really magical. So, yeah, on the Bob Train, this is the 2012 reissue. A lovely thick 180 gram vinyl. Everything sounds fantastic. Yeah, really good. Decided to get the reissue of this, Glassbleed Games, Clifford Jordan Quartet. I'm really happy I did. This sounds absolutely wonderful. 2LP, audiophile pressing, the works. Obviously a Strata East beast. Highly recommended. I don't need to tell you on this one. It's an expensive reissue, but it's still at least 4 times cheaper than an original. This one's been growing on me too. I found this really cheap at a record fair, Dead Can Dance. This is one of their very early ones. I don't think it's their first release, but this is before they really start to stretch out and go into the world music stuff. And there's hints of that in here, but it's definitely more of a darker post-punk sound, more closely linked with The Cure, I suppose. You can tell this is where they're really starting to push out. But yeah, really fantastic. There's a really amazing track. Oh, I haven't got the track listing. The second track on the first side. There's this really nice ambience to it, which is wonderful. You don't see these around anymore, especially down in this side of the world as well. I know in Australia and New Zealand you never see these, but I'm not sure what it's like in the UK. But yeah, really happy to get that. This is a fantastic record on the International Anthem label, Irreversible Entanglements. This is a spoken word, free jazz. I'll read the description. 4 relentless bouts of inspired fire music forged from the true spirit of free jazz, driven by searing poetic narrations of black trauma, survival, and power. I picked this up again because More Mother is the vocalist on here. That's not listed as a nickname, or she's called More Mother now, but back then she was called Kame Ayawa. But yeah, really fantastic. Absolutely a insight into what it's like to be a black person in America today and how fucked it is over there. Yeah, I don't know why I'm laughing because it's not funny at all, but yeah, it's the power of music and the power of the lyrics and the depth and the feeling in here is really emotional. Like, it's actually, one of the few records I've listened to this year that's really stopped and made me think, and it's real shit. I don't know how to describe it. Amazing. Actuala, I bought this ages ago and I just haven't got around to talking about it. Amazing mix of spiritual jazz and electronics, but from Italy. This is a reissue. I think this originally came out in 1970, something like that. Yeah, really, really wonderful record. I can highly recommend this reissue. It's very hard to describe what this is, but it's just a completely strange mix of, it's sort of spiritual jazz and avant-garde. But yeah, Actuala. There's a bit of the inside of the gatefold. Some more hardcore stuff. This is Embrace. So this is, I think it was, I want to say Joe Lally band nope, I'm wrong. It's Ian McKay's band, and this is his band between Minor Threat and Fugazi. I think it was a weird year, just between Minor Threat Fugazi started going. Really good. I'm going to say not a classic, but something I really enjoy it. Was it essential? I'm sure it is in some circles, but of the 3 hardcore stuff I picked up, whatever you want to call it, this is my least favorite, but I still like it. But this one is one that I really enjoy. This is Rites of Spring, absolutely classic record. The guitars on here are really what gets me. Really happy to get this. Obviously on Discord, which costs $5. There we go. All right, we're getting to the end now. I have to admit, I haven't made it all the way through this yet. I've listened to the first 2 sides. Harry Partch, Delusion of the Fury. I'm really keen to get my head stuck into this one. Modern classical, avant-garde. A whole lot of stuff going on. There's 4 sides and 4 pieces, and one is focused on Indian classical music. One is composed. Let's have a look, because I've got like a track listing on the back here. On an African theme, on a Japanese theme. There's one that has bits of an Indian thing mixed in towards it, and one that is just more of a straight up classical business. But yeah, there we go. Last 2, I've been wanting this for ages, and I found it up in Auckland. This is new music by the Phil Woods Quartet, and this is a jazzy, funky fusion record. Henry Franklin is on bass, which a lot of you would know from a black jazz label. This is probably the only Phil Woods record worth having as far as I know, but a lot of them are pretty rubbish, but this one is really amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, funky free jazz, electronic stuff going on, and yeah, amazing playing. Really happy to get that on Testament Records. A really clean copy as well. You don't often see them in this shape. And finally, this record here, amazing. I guess you would call it a krautrock or acid, folk, krautrock, folk rock record. Yeah, as cool as a cover would suggest. This is on the Pills label. I'm just going to show the label because it's one of my favorite labels. This isn't an original, but it's from a few years later. One moment, if you can see that. There we go. Yeah, really wonderful. I have to admit, I haven't spent that much time with this yet, but it's been on my list for a very long time, ever since the reissues came out, 4 or 5 years ago. So that's all. That's basically everything, which is really nice to get off and shown and talked about, even if it was briefly. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Sorry this wasn't as visually engaging as other ones, but I don't know why I'm apologizing. I do this in my own time for free, sort of. I don't know where I'm going with this. Alright guys, that's it. I'm ending it. See ya. Bye.